resolution of North Hannah combined license application, seismic and structural analyses. And this meeting will focus on future Dominion submittals. There is a presentation that was emailed around, and we'll be reviewing that in person here, and you can please follow along if you're on the phone. This is a Category 1 meeting. The public is invited to observe or listen to this meeting, and we'll have one or more opportunities to communicate with the NRC after the business portion of the meeting, but before the meeting is adjourned. The meeting is set to end, I believe, at 3:30, and we're not sure how long after lunch we'll go. We of course, chose a time that our presentation is about early. I'm not sure how early. That public meeting, that form, contact 415-3 or go to the website and provide feedback. Logistics for the one member of the public that's in the room, I think you already figured out the most important part. If there's a fire drill, the NRC staff will lead you to the nearest stairwell and we'll exit the building. And that did happen back in November. It was a drill, but all in fun. Again, my name is Buck. And I'll go around the room first. Actually, let me start with the people on the phone because not everybody in the room is gathered. Try in some orderly fashion. Any of the anybody on the phone with Dominion or Bechtel or
this is James Hall.
Anybody from the Virginia government on the phone?
Yes, this is Barbara Moore Scruggs with the Virginia Department of Emergency Management.
Also Arthur Warren, Virginia Department of Emergency Management.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Any members of the public on the phone? I'm sorry, was that Dave Martin? Good morning, Dave.
Mute on.
Hearing nobody else, we'll go around the room here for introduction.
Oh, excuse me, this is also Joseph Braverman from Brookhaven National Lab supporting the NRC.
Good morning, Joe. We'll go around the room. Anybody else on the phone that didn't introduce themselves? We'll go around the room now. My name is Terry Buckford.
Project manager at RK2, Structural Engineering Branch, responsible for Dr. Y and RO, that's Manas Chakravarti from the Structural Engineering Branch.
Trisha Campbell with GE Hitachi.
Get the microphone.
Dick Simmons from GE Hitachi.
Connie Kirby, GE Hitachi.
Doug Kemp, Bechtel, Project Engineer. Ben Evans, Dominion.
Tina Boris, licensing.
DEH. John Waddell, Dominion Engineering.
Any members of the public present want to introduce themselves? Thanks. Anybody else joining on the phone or didn't introduce themselves? All right, we'll get started. And before the presentation, Manus, you wanted to say a few words?
Thank you very much for coming in. It will be hopefully a very good meeting.
And actually, I'm sorry to cut you off, but the first one or two times anybody in the room speaks, please say your name for the folks on the phone. After that, it should get somewhat familiar.
This is Manas Chakravarti. I hope it will be a very good meeting, a lot of so we will know a lot more. But before we start our seismic demand, I just have some requests on 371 because I was going over some information mainly for our purpose of drafting SCR or what we need to draft the SCR. So when I went there, I thought a little bit more information on one of those documents or REI might be very useful. One of them is the when you do the NEI check, go from the first to the top, and then you see whether this is enveloped or not. You see that process. However, when you finally improve that at the first level, the spectra, you didn't go back and showed any figure that shows that the PBSRS is enveloped. Like we fixed it, we used this factor to improve that first or enhance that first to meet the NEI check. However, at the final stage, just check it that it did indeed envelope it. So that figure I couldn't find in the FSA. I'm sure you have that somewhere. Study at home or whatever. That. The other was there were some parameters, like seismic parameters like acceleration times distance over velocity squared, those numbers, and what you have said there, it didn't totally mean. Okay, you selected a seed type, calculated those parameters, then you determined that it was not in the range or something like that was in the new range, which is fine. And then he provided some data. A little bit more on that, like was it like this? Was it more than this? Okay, you provide something, relate that to whether it really is applicable there or it is okay or not. So some little emphasis would be useful for us. The information that we have right now, it justifies, but it doesn't justify it one way, this way, or the other way, because it did not provide the standard characteristic values of the seed that that would be required part of that. So I hope you understand what I'm looking for. One of OBE at the envelope of the reg guide 160, which is fine. You define the OBE at that grade, and that's no problem. But then for the plant shutdown purpose, you defined OBE a little differently, right? Because I just wanted to understand it. Okay. Right. Because there is a difference. And plant shutdown is reviewed by our geotechnical people, okay? But that's okay, I have no problem with defining OBE, but I'm defining whatever you needed for the plant shutdown purpose. There may be a difference, which is okay with me, but I just wanted to have some, clarification. And you probably don't need to do anything because you probably have defined your shutdown criteria in somewhere else.
In 374, right?
374 or something like that.
There was an REI that was sent in that hasn't been completely. That's far they asked. So if you wanted to email that to
you can to refresh, but I just wanted to clarify in my mind that there is no true OBE level. One is for shutdown, another, which is true here in this situation. Okay. But, I think that
this was an REI response. This is Perry Buckberg. This was an REI response. It was in 374. It came in like October.
November time.
Right, yeah. Right. It went to Vlad specifically.
Okay. Which is,
and I can forward it to you as well.
I think it's in yes.
The REI database.
Yes.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Very good. I think those are the areas that I thought, when my first look at what I need for my I couldn't put my hands directly, some of those information that I can really reference. Okay? I know that it was done, but I just don't know where the information is.
Right.
Okay, I think that's all I had on the 371. Now we can see your meeting now.
Terry, did anyone else want to say anything before?
The only one who had approached me is Manis. Anybody else has comments? The presentation, thanks. The presentation is going to take up the majority of the meeting easily. And we can get started with that. Anybody else have comments before we start going?
I do have one, but I want to wait till we are discussing after the first two slides to talk about that.
So first, let's have the presentation. Then
yeah.
Okay. All right. Boris from Dominion Licensing, thank you all for being here. It's going to be a long day, so we'll get started. But I'm on, for people on the phone, I'm on slide 2, which is the agenda for today. We've done the introductions. We're going to talk in a minute about the schedule briefly for the remainder of the work that we have for Seismic. And then we're going to go through what you're going to be seeing in the July transmittal, and the way we've organized basically it's by the RAI responses, because much of the technical work that we're doing is to address RAIs. And so we'll be talking through RAIs and providing preliminary results of the analyses that have been done so far. But as you can see on the slides, we're highlighting these are preliminary results. They haven't been verified yet. They aren't in the FSAR yet, and they are subject to change, but we're pretty confident that this is what you're going to be seeing in July. And then we'll go over a summary and talk about action items. So the next slide, slide 3, shows the schedule that we have for submitting the technical reports between now and the end of July. And you can see on this slide that there are about 11 reports that we're going to be submitting. I'm not going to go over them, but basically starting in May and going into June and July, we'll be sending you this information, and it will be available to you as it's finished. And so we're trying to get you the information as soon as possible. Okay? And then finally, in July, we will be seeing FSAR markups and RAI responses that are associated with that work. What we'll send in July is the format very similar to what you saw in February. So we will provide with its response that approach, and then if there are technical reports or FSAR mark, guys refer to the text. If they're not going to be have and to make it as simple as possible. A big FSAR mark so that all required COLA, technical reports, and the RAI response.
All 371, 372.
Right. Whatever is affected by those reports. So now what we're going to be doing is talking, we're going to start the technical discussion, and Muvin's going to go over that for us, starting with RAI 37213. Do you guys have any general discussion questions before Lupin gets started?
No, just okay, just to move on with it. First, I will be this actual model. Why? Because of the analysis. More then south of the
utility to perform forecast. Results of the outcome from the analysis, but it's a result, so you can see what kind of response they obtain. Discussion about the 37111 is the revision 3 of the RAI, where we will talk about the analysis for 5 specific two different control point observation. We will compare the results and see how they relate. Then we will discuss the side effects evaluation results from those studies. And as part of the discussion on RAI 17, we will present preliminary results for the load demands on the structures and compare them with the DCD load and see how they compare and what are the demands on the category 1 structures for the Montana side. At the end, I will talk about how we are going to approach and present some results from the recent RAI we received on the verification validation report and modified subtraction method validation report, RAI 26. I will start the discussion about RAI 13 regarding the national model. The first, I want to point out that the models we have so far, they're all they meet the range validated in the report for 2010. Aspect ratio maximum value of what is 1.48. Now, in order to address your regarding high frequency, made sure we refine we mentioned before. Make sure that for upper bound slow cases which govern the response high frequencies, we have more can transmit 99% of the energy. Also, for overall, you can capture more than 80% of them for input motion. Now I will talk about the reactor during slow building process. This table gives the characteristics. This slide 7 gives the characteristics of the model. You see the passing frequencies. The basic partial column, the full column analysis have the flow involved, so we have to refine the model to find higher frequencies. So now the refined model can capture 100% energy for the upper bound or 80 and upper bound.
So 32, we will have a basis for that. Why it will be.
So the next slide shows
Excuse me, this is Joe Braverman. It's very hard to hear. There's a lot of rustling of papers. Perhaps could I request people on the phone to put the phone on mute? Perhaps that's the cause. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Joe. No, we're not going to put it on mute. If anybody on the phone, unless you have something to offer to the meeting, please put your phone on mute. And folks here will try to be quiet with paper. Thanks, Joe.
We are on site now. Let's present the model, the new refined model for analysis of the reactor building for a full count profile. You can see in this we have more refined mesh for the third part of the excavated volume. Here, good other side. Now, this new concept model that uniform mesh, and they can affect the calculation of its impedance or the point values used into the point model structure. To address this, we have performed a validation study where we compare the results of first part model based on the mesh type portion. Then we run the same model, point radius, which was based on the blue portion of the model, which is first of view. This radius was 0.8. Then we use the previous benchmark to see how this is. We had the mass acceleration, 5% down, we actually demonstrate that the use of radius based on the fact that most of the motion that the structure sees comes from the rock subgrade. So basically, we have demonstrated that what we have right now is adequate model.
So 3.4 is the core surface?
Yes, for the mesh of the rock, which basically drives the structure. And then, as we can see after that, when we look at the results from this analysis, you can see that the addition of the fuel doesn't affect the response of the reactor fuel.
Basically, the last brief says the comparison are very close for all the three cases.
Yes. For this spectra, for example, the 3.4 meters in high frequencies gave. We go to the next slide. We can look at the model that's used as a benchmark. This is the unison model. And this model was capable of transmitting frequencies up to 50 Hz per upper one. So what we did as a study here is up to 50 for this model. These are the results of the analysis for the active observation of reactor building fuel building for Laplace model. Then we can go. Which is reinforced concrete containment method. After that, now I will talk about the contributing model. one is the table summarizing the main characteristics of the model with data kind analysis. So you can see that the partial column works with direct method and now the full column is also define the model capturing almost 100%. Go up to 82 for other frequencies, 34 hertz and like
mute on.
If you're on the phone and you are not making a remark pertinent to the meeting, please put your phone on mute. Thank you.
Now we are looking at the model. Next slide. So remesh model in the same model that we did for the reactor. By mesh for the model. And more for the mesh for the different. If this was done for both models, so we will be able to run the analysis in the limits that the program has in terms of maximum number of nodes. And we did sensitivity studies, the same to check the adequacy of stuff and selected point value. We did the same analysis on using the point values of 1.6, the density test, and other one 0.87 meters represent two portion of the model. Also looked at the responses from the uniform mesh model we have using 0.5 meters. We compared the pulse for maximum observation and the heat capture at analysis using 1.7 years. Now I will show the results.
This shows what? What is it?
This shows the comparison of
The acceleration.
by maximum acceleration to the
What?
now is the infrastructure response spectra at the base control.
Okay. On the what is the peak ground acceleration for the partial field? Is this partial field? No, I think this is complete.
No, this is full column.
Full column.
Yeah, those are the ones that
So what's the peak ground acceleration approximate?
I put 0.
Question how comes to me the base mat, if you go on spectrum, it looks like almost half of pi, right? 26 you were seeing shows